Facing the invincible outer gods, the towering structures crumble in flames. The once mighty heroes suffer a bitter defeat, left with nothing but despair as the apocalypse begins. Even with the world ending, fierce warriors like Sun Wukong and Hercules refuse to yield. Unleashing angry roars, they gather every ounce of their remaining strength for one final stand. However, as the mindless chaos finally manifests, its overwhelming power crushes everyone's hopes. Even the strongest fighters despairingly realize that winning this war is simply impossible. Watching his allies fall, our boy clenches his fists in frustration. He knows better than anyone that they can't win this fight, at least not in this timeline. With no options left, Kronos makes the ultimate sacrifice. He activates the clockwork mechanism to send our guy back in time, betting everything on one last chance to rewrite their fate. Facing the inevitable end of the world, the surviving heroes decide to make one last gamble. The god of time sacrifices himself to activate the blue gear, ready to reverse time. Our boy doesn't get it. Why choose him when there are other top-tier fighters? His comrades explain that as the last person to enter the tower, he has the most terrifying adaptability. Since higher beings can't interfere with the lower floors, someone must fight their way up from the very bottom to change humanity's fate. Carrying his comrades' last hopes, he takes on the heavy burden. As the gear spins at lightning speed, the time reversal mechanism kicks in, pulling his consciousness instantly into the endless flow of time. Snapping his eyes open, our boy realizes the time travel worked. He's alive, but all his godlike powers and stats have been wiped clean. His current body feels incredibly heavy. Before he can fully process the situation, he finds himself grabbed by the collar and aggressively taunted by a blonde senior. To him, this arrogant display just looks pathetic. Catching sight of the university crest on the jacket, it finally dawns on him. He has actually traveled all the way back to his college days, right before the apocalypse. His stats might be gone, but the lethal combat instincts forged in countless battles remain. Facing the clueless bully, our boy doesn't waste a single word and decisively throws a counterpunch. The punk who was talking trash just a second ago gets brutally sent flying by a heavy strike. While he easily swatted away this nuisance, the real apocalyptic survival challenge has just begun. At 3 p.m., the phone screen displays a grim countdown. With only 9 hours left until the apocalyptic tutorial begins, our boy quietly waits for his fate to change. A few hours later at a bar, the punk who tried to mess with him earlier meets up with his gang. When asked if he taught our boy a lesson, he sweats nervously behind his mask. Recalling the terror of getting crushed by our boy, he still feels the sting on his cheek. But his clueless buddies keep bragging, swearing they'll beat our guy to a pulp tonight. As midnight approaches, the New Year's Eve streets are packed. Just as the tipsy punks are heading to their next spot, they spot a chillingly familiar figure in the crowd. Exactly, it's our boy. Ignoring the noisy festive vibe around him, he looks completely unbothered, calmly dragging a mysterious black suitcase down the street. Seeing him, the punks immediately smirk and crack their knuckles, ready to greet him the hard way. With an arrogant shout, these clueless thugs block our boy's path. Facing the constant provocations from local thugs, our boy remains completely unfazed. He ignores their shouting and coldly checks the countdown on his watch. Seeing the thugs step forward and yell, our guy simply unzips his suitcase. Revealing a full stash of deadly blades, he instantly leaves the arrogant villains dumbfounded. Before the crowd can even react, our boy draws a long sword and drives it fiercely into the ground. This overwhelming aura instantly silences everyone around. His gaze turns ice cold, knowing that absolute hell is about to descend. As the watch hits exactly midnight, the countdown finally comes to an end. Right at midnight, eerie lights rain down like meteors. A giant system panel hovers in the night sky, announcing the official start of a brutal zombie survival game. The once bustling streets are instantly swarmed by hordes of zombies. Defenseless civilians scatter in pure terror, filling the air with desperate screams and bloody carnage. Everyone is trapped in this confined sector, doomed to become a sea of blood. Yet amidst the chaos, our boy remains unnervingly calm, tightening his grip on his glowing blade. While others tremble with junk weapons, our guy strikes decisively to claim the first kill. For him, the real slaughter feast has just begun. Right as the clock strikes 0, our boy doesn't hesitate. With one clean strike, he claims the first kill, leveling up instantly and feeling his body grow noticeably lighter. Relying on his past life's combat experience, he moves through the horde like a relentless reaper, the sweet sound of leveling up constantly ringing in his ears. Seeing him make it look so easy, Other survivors gather their courage and charge in. But as their weapons strike, they realize with horror that something is terribly wrong. The zombies feel no pain from the weapons lodged in their flesh, turning even more vicious. As our boy predicted, normal attacks are completely useless against these tough monsters. Once these monsters swarm, it's an absolute nightmare. Just then, our guy frowns, realizing the special effect on his weapon has worn off at the worst possible moment. But he doesn't panic. With a swift strike to the nearby wall, he retrieves a mysterious container he had hidden in advance, knowing exactly what it takes to put them down. In his previous life, an old comrade shared a crucial secret. The only fatal weakness of these seemingly invincible tutorial zombies is actually salt. With his blade coated in salt, our boy tears through the horde like a hot knife through butter. While this slaughter is satisfying, the true threat has only just begun to surface. In just 10 minutes, our boy effortlessly slaughters hundreds of zombies without breaking a sweat, casually pocketing the extra stat points as his reward. After checking the system prompt, he doesn't stick around. With the survival timer ticking in the air, he readies his weapon and heads off to find a better farming spot. In stark contrast to his ease, Myung-hoon and the other survivors are living a nightmare. They desperately fight back with crude weapons, barely surviving the endless horde. Seeing how hard he has to struggle just to kill one monster, Myung-hoon is consumed by jealousy, frustrated at how Yuan makes it look so ridiculously easy. Before they can even catch their breath, a massive new wave of zombies swarms in. Their fragile defense completely collapses as terrifying screams echo through the ruined streets. Driven mad by fear, the panicked survivors frantically search the battlefield for our boy, desperately hoping to hide behind his overwhelming strength once again. But reality is cruel, and the monsters aren't about to give them a break. Myung-hoon has no choice but to keep swinging his blade in a hopeless, bloody struggle. Just as the exhausted survivors collapse and brace for death, the zombies in front of them are suddenly set flying by a massive, unseen impact from above. As the first stage ends, the survivors are left completely shaken. Meanwhile, our boy triggers a crazy level-up streak, with system notifications raining down from the sky. With one final, devastating strike, the first tutorial officially concludes, leaving just over 4,000 survivors in the ruined city. Standing among a mountain of corpses, our guy reaps massive rewards. Thanks to his insane kill count, he bags huge points and rare extra stats, setting himself up perfectly. Even with a fortune in points, he knows there's no time to rest. Just as he plans his next move, an obnoxiously cheerful voice echoes across the city. The manager Arlequin bluntly announces that since someone leveled up too fast, the next phase is starting early. This throws everyone into a panic, while our boy just watches coldly from above. With Arlequin's theatrical declaration, a brutal battle for points and levels begins. A massive yellow energy field crashes down on the city, kicking off the second survival game. The second tutorial begins with a cruel announcement. Staying outside the safe zone drains massive points every 3 hours, turning the city into an apocalyptic nightmare. Faced with this doomsday scenario, panicked survivors frantically search for the safe zone. The thug Myung-hoon looks around in sheer disbelief with his battered companions. While everyone scrambles for safety, Myung-hoon notices our boy walking the opposite way. He rushes over to block his path, thinking he's going the wrong direction. He claims he wants to protect our guy, but deep down, he knows clinging to him is survival. Too bad our boy sees right through it and pushes him away. Our boy coldly tells him to stop relying on others to live. Leaving that harsh warning behind, he heads straight into danger, leaving Myung-hoon cursing furiously. Suddenly, things take a wild turn. The safe zone barrier abruptly shuts, like an invisible wall, violently repelling those trying to rush in. Myung-hoon freezes in shock. The cruel truth flashes midair. The safe zone capacity is exactly half of the survivors. This means the rest are left to die, and a bloody elimination is just beginning. When the system cruelly announced that the safe zone capacity was halved, panic instantly gripped the crowd. Everyone knew that staying outside meant certain death. While massive giant worms slaughtered survivors above ground, our boy charged in the opposite direction. Moving like a phantom, he cleanly pierced the monster's gaping maw. Securing the first kill rewarded him with massive stats, proving his theory. To hunt these subterranean predators, he closed his eyes and relied purely on his heightened senses to track them. At the slightest tremor beneath his feet, our boy unhesitatingly shattered the ground, delivering a fatal strike the exact moment the worm tried to burst forth. Seeing the constant level-up notifications and his stats skyrocketing fueled his excitement. Killing just 2 monsters triggered a level up, making this the perfect chance to farm stats. Following the monster's tracks, he ventured straight into the ruined Hongdae subway station. A system alert chimed, revealing a massive hidden dungeon right before his eyes. Facing a swarming nest of giant worms in the dark, our boy wasn't afraid at all. Tightening his grip on his blade, he readied himself to turn this place into his personal slaughterhouse. Meanwhile, our boy tracks down the hidden worm nest. Facing these massive, terrifying creatures, he doesn't flinch. Instead, he plans to hit level 20 right here. With a swift and lethal strike, our guy pierces right through the giant worm's mouth, taking it down instantly. Looking at the mysterious item dropped by the monster, a hint of excitement crosses his eyes. Now, he has the perfect reason to go on an absolute rampage. At the same time, it's true hell outside the safe zone. Hunted by giant worms, the defenseless survivors can only scream in absolute despair. To make matters worse, the system's cruel rules kick in. As points are deducted and the safe zone overloads, excess people are ruthlessly shocked and kicked out. Faced with approaching monsters and a merciless countdown, the crowd completely loses it. Desperate for the few remaining survival spots, the survivors violently turn on each other. Even the former campus bully, Myung-hoon, is caught in the chaos. Watching everyone around him do whatever it takes to survive, his expression twists with madness. He quickly realizes that morality means nothing here. If he doesn't want to become bug food, he must step over others to survive. The real slaughter has just begun. The tutorial's brutal rules have driven the participants to madness. To survive, they've turned on one another, letting humanity crumble under pure terror as screams echo through the halls. While chaos reigns elsewhere, our boy is busy tearing through hordes of monsters. His blades move like a reaper's scythe, carving lethal arcs through the beasts with clinical precision. Weaving through the snapping jaws of these giants, he dances around their attacks with ease. As the last beast falls, the system chimes and our guy has finally hit level 20. The stat boost from leveling up makes his body feel lighter than ever. Even though 3 hours of intense combat have worn him down, looking at his haul makes every bit of effort worth it. Reaching level 20 finally unlocks secret power, the core foundation of his future strength. Without a second thought, our boy pumps all his points into it, letting the energy surge through him. The moment the dust settles, our boy senses eyes on him. Without even looking back, he calls out the hidden observer lurking in the ceiling, his sharp instincts catching the watcher off guard. Harlequin, the administrator's servant, finally reveals himself, visibly shocked that a rookie could spot him. Looking at our guy's record-breaking progress, even this jester is impressed. Facing Harlequin's prodding, our boy calmly chalks his success up to luck. But that kind of humility only makes Harlequin realize that this calm young man is the most dangerous person here. Sensing he's being watched, our boy calls out the hidden system messenger, Harlequin. Demanding to open the shop to buy skills this early in the tutorial? That unprecedented move leaves the little monster completely stunned. Scrolling through the endless shop interface, our guy knows exactly what he wants. He locks in on the monkey's eyes, coldly shutting down Harlequin's prying questions to avoid drawing any unnecessary attention. Despite Harlequin warning that the skill isn't great, our boy hits the buy button without a second thought. He then grabs a basic arcane sword to perfectly cover his early game offensive flaws. Amused by his decisive choices, Harlequin bursts into a creepy laugh. Leaving behind a chilling remark about having high expectations, the eerie system messenger vanishes into thin air. Our boy knows exactly what that implies. He's now a special target for the administrators. Still, he remains unfazed. As long as he plays by the rules, they can't touch him. His only real concern is keeping his regression a secret. Thinking back to the supreme gods like Kronos, who sacrificed themselves to send him back in time, our guy takes a deep breath. They wiped all traces of the mechanism, meaning not even the highest administrators should be able to find out. Brushing off his thoughts, our boy immediately activates his new monkey's eyes. As his pupils glow a piercing gold, massive fleshy tentacles suddenly burst through the rubble around him. It looks like the real challenge is just beginning. The hidden boss, Mother Worm, suddenly goes berserk, ruthlessly devouring the survivors. Yet facing this horrifying monstrosity, our boy stands his ground without a single trace of fear. He calmly draws his newly acquired arcane sword, blue lightning dancing across the blade. Looking at the thrashing tentacles, he knew all along this thing would show up here. Accompanied by the monster's deafening roar, our boy violently crushes the ground beneath his feet. The massive recoil launches him like an arrow right into the storm of thrashing tentacles. Facing the monster's mindless onslaught, our guy even finds time to mock it. This creature might be brutal, but in the face of absolute power, its pathetic IQ is laughable. One strike is all I need. Staring down the incoming jaws of death, our boy doesn't even flinch. Instead, he raises his glowing blade with lethal intent in his eyes. Before his words even drop, he leaps high into the air. Channeling all his strength into a blinding strike, he slashes down toward the monster's weak point with crushing force. The strike is devastating. His sharp blade instantly pierces through the motherworm's shell, triggering a violent explosion from within, and sending green blood flying everywhere to end the battle. Bathed in the monster's green blood, our boy flashes a cold, confident smirk. He just crossed another major threat off his list, but his relentless path to change the future has only just begun. Facing the massive motherworm, our boy doesn't hesitate. He leaps into the air, gathering brilliant blue energy in his sword to launch a fierce strike. Knowing this isn't enough to finish the job, he uses his downward momentum to dive further. He unleashes a massive blade of light, brutally tearing through the monster's defenses. As the beast opens its massive jaws to counterattack, our guy just smirks. With a blinding flash, he drives his sword straight down, piercing the boss's weak point and ending the fight. Meanwhile, in other parts of the tutorial area, the survival countdown ticks away. Driven to despair, the participants are locked in a brutal bloodbath just to stay alive. The entire zone has become a living hell, filled with angry roars and helpless screams. With only 30 seconds left, the shadow of death pushes everyone to their breaking point. Just as the clock hits 3 seconds and everyone expects to die, the timer suddenly stops. The stunned survivors look up, realizing someone has cleared the final boss early. Back to our boy, the system immediately drops massive rewards as the giant beast falls. He calmly crushes a potion to recover, knowing the real challenges are just beginning. After a 30-minute wait since the bug mother's death, the tutorial manager Harlequin finally shows up. Sitting right on the massive corpse, our boy wastes no time and demands his special reward. Dealing with a player who broke all the rules, Harlequin offers 3 choices. The first option is to skip the next 2 tutorial stages and head straight to higher levels. Our boy instantly sees through their scheme to get rid of him. But when the third option turns out to be a connection with the Olympus faction, he raises an eyebrow. Harlequin desperately hypes up the protection of Olympus. But knowing their corrupted nature, our guy completely ignores the pitch and firmly chooses the massive point payout instead. Points acquired. Seeing him refuse, Harlequin panics and begs him to reconsider. With a cold smirk, our boy exposes the truth. This Olympus deal was a private bribe unapproved by the system. Paralyzed with fear, Harlequin knows he's busted. Tired of this corrupted clown, our boy spends all his newly acquired points to force a direct meeting request with the true administrator. In a flash, a terrifying system beast descends and instantly devours the rule-breaking Harlequin. Seeing his request accepted, our boy realizes just how deeply Olympus has infiltrated the tutorial zone. With a deafening explosion and crackling purple lightning, the massive tutorial administrator makes his grand entrance. Summoned for a mere 1,000 points, the giant entity finds it amusing, unleashing a terrifying pressure across the area. Facing an aura that would suffocate any normal player, our boy Yuan stands completely unfazed. He calmly introduces himself, and the administrator immediately recognizes the rookie who slaughtered over 1,000 undead in the first tutorial. Cutting the pleasantry short, Yuan gets straight to the point and points his finger at the Harlequin. When the administrator questions how he knows so much, our boy remains fearless, armed with memories from his past life. Yuan confidently brings up the administrator's own rule. Participants must gather information themselves. He knows perfectly well that in the administrator's absolute domain, no one can get away with lying. As Yuan pushes harder, the ugly truth comes to light. The supposedly neutral Harlequin had secretly accepted bribes from Olympus, acting as a traitor to manipulate the tower's rules. Caught red-handed, the panicked clown desperately tries to make excuses. However, the administrator, who despises rule-breakers, shows zero mercy and instantly crushes the traitor into a bloody pulp. Looking at the messy aftermath, the administrator is furious at Olympus for overstepping their boundaries. He delivers the final blow to the clown and solemnly thanks our boy for helping clean up the rot. Now that the dirty work is done, it's time for the best part, the payout. According to the tutorial's second rule, all achievements must be adequately rewarded, and Yuan doesn't hesitate to ask for his due. Looking at the enigmatic rookie, the administrator can't help but be impressed. Despite earlier reports calling him ordinary, our boy's actions today clearly warrant an unprecedented, massive reward. Impressed by the unbelievable outcome, the tutorial administrator decides our boy deserves a reward worthy of his unprecedented achievements. After some thought, the administrator extends his skeletal hand. As their hands clasp, a mysterious energy begins to flow, making our guy realize this isn't just an ordinary exchange. A system prompt reveals our boy just scored the god-tier skill Mana Master. Seeing his rare expression of pure shock, the administrator gives a chilling smile, clearly satisfied with the reaction. With the reward delivered, the administrator doesn't overstay his welcome. Leaving a promise to meet again in the next tutorial, he vanishes, leaving our hero alone in the ruined battlefield. Once alone, our boy eagerly checks his new stats. Though his proficiency is currently low, possessing such a rare mana control skill is an absolute game changer. To test his new power, he focuses a dense orb of mana in his palm. However, the resulting mana strike packs way more punch than expected, triggering an instant, violent explosion. The massive shockwave completely blows our guy away, shattering the ground beneath him. It might be a messy landing, but he couldn't be happier with this terrifying destructive power. Dusting himself off, he checks the timer showing only a few hours left. He knows perfectly well that merely regaining his past strength won't be enough to face the looming outer gods. Just then, swarms of mutated monsters pour out from the ground. Driven by the need to gather absolute power, our boy shatters the earth with a fierce sprint, diving right back into the bloodbath. To maximize his gains before the timer runs out, our boy dives straight into the horde, relentlessly testing his new explosive skills on the terrified monsters. Meanwhile, inside the safe zone, the survivors are tearing each other apart over supplies. A blonde thug is already using violence to crush any opposition. Just as the thugs try to establish their cruel new order, a gasp ripples through the crowd. Everyone stares in absolute disbelief toward the outside of the barrier. They watch our boy going toe-to-toe with a massive red monster outside. His insane bravery leaves the cowardly survivors completely speechless and terrified. As the giant beast collapses, our guy turns around covered in monster blood. He coldly glares at the stunned crowd, casually telling them to carry on with their little chat. Stepping onto the massive carcass, he returns like a god of war. Seeing the shifting dynamics, Hanjuno quickly runs out, loudly calling his name to act friendly. Facing this fake friendliness, our guy remains completely indifferent. In this ruined world, he knows that absolute power and ruthless selfishness are the only ways to survive. Facing the bloody aftermath outside, the crowd breaks into a panic. Trying to steady his nerves, the scarred survivor steps up and questions our boy, realizing he deliberately used those thugs as bait for supplies. To the survivors, forcing others to their deaths is completely inhuman. But our guy, who still has the blonde thug pinned to the ground, doesn't even flinch. He looks at them like they're total idiots. He coldly shatters their naive illusions. In this hellish new world, clinging to useless morals will only get you killed. If you want to survive, you have to be more selfish and brutal than the monsters. Before the shock can even settle, the countdown for the second tutorial hits 0. The system hands out basic rewards to everyone who hid in a safe zone. However, the tower's rules leave no room for slackers. The third tutorial kicks right in. The safe barrier instantly vanishes, and an endless horde of terrifying, mutated monsters floods into the area. From the giant insects crawling all over the buildings to the mutated beasts roaming the ruins, it's crystal clear this city has completely turned into a brutal hunting ground. The crowd completely loses it. Seeing the new system prompt requiring them to personally hunt monsters for essence, those who hope to keep hiding are plunged into absolute despair. Listening to the desperate wails around him, our boy isn't scared at all. Instead, a chilling smirk creeps up his face. For him, the real slaughterfest is just getting started. As the third tutorial kicks off, safety zones vanish instantly. Our boy is pushing through searing pain to absorb mana essences, aiming to shatter his current limits. Facing a tidal wave of monsters, our guy charges forward. He channels the newly absorbed mana into his fingertips, testing his boundaries while looking for a breakthrough. As the energy vortex stabilizes, a notification confirms that Mana Blast is fully mastered. A massive purple beam erupts, obliterating the surrounding fodder in an instant. Despite the raw power, our boy sees this skill as just a basic test of control. He calmly gathers his loot, while already planning a more efficient way to deal with the horde. The lurking wolf demons are visibly shaken by our guy's cold aura. With the warm-up over, he draws his sword, ready to start the real harvest. By the second day, the survivor count has plummeted from over 1,000 to barely 400. Hanjuno's group trudges through the ruined subway, the air thick with despair. Exhaustion and fear spread as the injured struggle to keep up. The once familiar subway station has transformed into a dark, suffocating labyrinth of death. Just as despair sets in, they stumble upon an untouched convenience store. This unexpected find sparks a glimmer of hope in the starving group finally, a chance to regroup. The survivors thought they had found a moment to catch their breath, but they didn't realize a massive nightmare was already watching them from the ceiling. With a deafening crash, the monster ambush begins. Beasts swarm in from every shadow, leaving Han Junho badly injured as the group is trapped. They fight back desperately, but their resistance means nothing against the sheer numbers of the horde. Defenses are torn apart, leaving only screams echoing in the ruins. Blood and blades flash in the chaos. While some violently slash at the beasts, others are pinned down by horrific monsters in a brutal struggle to survive. No matter how hard they fight, the monsters keep coming. Facing the bloodthirsty jaws of these fearless beasts, everyone feels the cold grip of death. Venom splatters as the battle reaches its end. Seeing their comrades fall and the beasts closing in, their minds break. All they can do is wait for death. Just when all hope is lost, an annoyed voice cuts through the chaos. Our boy crushes a glowing loot drop, rising with murderous red eyes. Facing a room packed with monsters, our boy doesn't even blink. With a powerful strike, he sweeps the bystanders aside, stepping up to solo the horde. Just as the survivors were losing hope, our boy was awakened by the commotion. With a look of pure annoyance and energy surging through his hands, it's clear he's about to take full control of the situation. Songchan is completely stunned. In his mind, high levels and gear are the only ways to survive, yet our boy just took down a monster with a common tin can, completely shattering his understanding of the world. The fight doesn't stop there. Facing the oncoming threats, our boy drops into a low stance and manifests a glowing blue energy blade. The sheer sharpness of his intent seems to slice through the very air around him. The massive green rock monster lets out a deafening roar, but our boy is faster. He leaps high and dives down with unstoppable momentum, obliterating the behemoth in a spectacular burst of blue energy. As the smoke clears, nothing but monster remains are left on the battlefield. Songchan, clutching his wounds, thanks our boy. Without that masterclass in combat, they would have surely become monster bait. Our boy coldly hands out some recovery items and gives brief instructions. He's blunt about it. While the medicine will save their lives, injuries this severe mean they won't be moving normally anytime soon. Only now does the exhaustion finally hit him. To grow stronger in the early days of the apocalypse, our boy has been fighting for 4 days straight. That brief 6-hour nap was the only luxury he could afford. To ensure his next rest is undisturbed, he buys some odorless powder from the shop to mask his scent. In this treacherous tower, only absolute caution will keep him alive on his long journey to save the world. Still shaken from the brutal fight, the survivors just want to flee. After all, the dungeon depths are crawling with monsters and deadly underground snakes. Seeing their panic, our guide turns to the stairs, casually explaining he's just stopping by to rest. The real, high-stakes hunting ground is somewhere else entirely. Following him down the ominous stairs, the survivors are stunned. The environment on the second floor looks completely different, with a chilling vibe in the air. When asked why he'd willingly dive into such danger, our boy calmly reveals a brutal truth. The surface survivors are already slaughtering each other over essences. In this apocalyptic world where trust is dead, the group remains on edge, terrified that he might just kill them to steal their hard-earned resources. Staring at his imposing back, they break into a cold sweat. To them, this savior feels far more dangerous than any monster, and they silently pray for mercy. He coldly shatters their illusions, bluntly stating they wouldn't survive here even without his interference. This harsh reality check instantly puts everyone on high alert. Just when the tension peaks, our boy flashes a slight smile and offers a tempting deal. If they cooperate and play their parts, they'll get a fair cut of the loot. But this is no easy job. Right on cue, a massive, terrifying green serpent bursts forward with a deafening roar. The real deadly hunt has just begun. Faced with the sudden appearance of a giant green serpent, the survivors are paralyzed with fear, wondering if our boy's good proposal was actually a death trap. Amidst the suffocating dread, our boy remains incredibly calm. He looks at the others and gives a simple, chilling command, "Run." As the serpent lunges, our boy leaps into the air like a blur. His sword flashes with a cold light as he strikes directly at the creature's gaping maw. Soon, a horde of various monsters swarms out from the depths, but our boy turns the battlefield into a harvest ground, obliterating everything in his path. Watching our boy maneuver effortlessly through the monster swarm, Sanken is completely stunned. This level of speed and efficiency is beyond his wildest imagination. Purple essences scatter across the floor. In just 2 hours, the amount collected is staggering. This isn't hunting anymore, it's a total massacre. As the dust settles, our blood-soaked boy stands among the ruins. His overwhelming aura makes everyone realize that they are playing an entirely different game. Sanken's hands tremble as he picks up the essences. He finally understands that this man possesses not only raw power, but a profound mastery of the tower's rules. Though the harvest is bountiful, Sanken's sweat-drenched face reminds us that this is only the beginning. Far more terrifying challenges await them ahead. Our boy doesn't hoard the loot. He casually hands out the essences to his temporary squad, leaving them absolutely stunned by his mowing down efficiency. Curious, the brown-haired guy carelessly asks about our boy's level. Instead of an answer, he gets a cold warning. Prying into others' stats is a fatal taboo in this brutal tower. He harshly reminds them that instead of just staring at the handed-out essences, they need to get their hands dirty in real combat. Leveling up is the only way to survive here. Right on cue, inspired by his words, the teammates charge screaming at the newly spawned monsters. The rookies are finally done being spectators and decide to fight. With monsters swarming in like a tide, there's no time to breathe. Our boy takes the lead, diving straight into the enemy horde with his squad right behind him. After a fierce struggle, Sanken violently smashes a monster's head. Seeing the system prompt, he screams in excitement. This actual combat finally got him leveled up. As the battle wraps up smoothly, our boy generously lets them have all the dropped loot. Just 2 hours of crazy grinding helped them gather what would normally take days. Facing their deep bows of gratitude, our guy casually mentions that their efficient monster luring helped him earn a lot too. Just then, a system countdown pops up for the portal. With less than 3 hours left, he decisively leads the team out. This oppressive dungeon run finally comes to an end, and everyone is eager to return to the surface fully loaded. As the red gate slowly activates, the tension in the plaza drops to freezing. People wait anxiously, but everyone is secretly harboring their own dark motives. Since the drop rate for essences is ridiculously low, killing others for their loot is much faster than hunting. A brutal slaughter seems entirely inevitable. But before anyone can act, the blonde leader strikes first. Relying on his overwhelming power, he ruthlessly sends a man flying to assert his dominance. Looking at the helpless victim, the blonde leader laughs arrogantly. The crowd finally realizes he intentionally gathered everyone here just to treat them as prey. Then, this arrogant thug demands a whopping 400 essences as a toll. It's blatant extortion, making the frustrated survivor slam the ground in pure rage. Faced with this outrageous demand, the crowd is seething with anger. However, outmatched by his terrifying strength, they can only grit their teeth and endure it. Just as despair takes over, calm footsteps suddenly interrupt the standoff. Hearing the casual "excuse me," there's no doubt our boy has finally arrived to clean house. Just when the crowd was boiling with helpless anger over the blonde thug's extortion, our boy drops in from the sky with a loud crash, landing right in the middle of the chaos. Without a word, our boy unties his bundle. In the next second, thousands of glowing purple essences pour out like a waterfall, piling up into a small mountain. The ridiculous amount instantly leaves everyone speechless. Desperate survivors immediately reach out, begging our boy for a share of the life-saving items. Even the arrogant blonde leader stares dead at the pile of essences, his eyes filled with pure greed. However, our boy isn't here to play Santa. He draws a line on the ground and sets up shop, coldly announcing the price: 100 points each upfront. This steep price immediately sparks complaints from the crowd. Unwilling to pay, the blonde leader slams his sword into the ground. Taking the moral high ground, he loudly accuses our guy of being selfish, before pointing his blade right at him with a vicious threat. "What are you gonna do if we don't pay?" Facing the thug's violent threats and moral kidnapping, our boy doesn't even bat an eye. He calmly replies that he never forces anyone to buy, and anyone can take one as long as they pay. His absolute indifference only pushes the tension in the room to a breaking point. Seeing the chest of essences, the blonde leader gets greedy. He shamelessly accuses our boy of being a murderer to justify stealing the loot. Unable to stand the lies, our boy's companions step up to defend him. The leader just smirks, thinking 3 people are easy prey. On the leader's command, the thugs rush in. But they completely forgot our boy's warning line. Crossing it means choosing death. Our boy draws his blade without hesitation. Moving like a ghost, His overwhelming power turns the ambush into a one-sided massacre, leaving his companions stunned. Flashes of cold blue light cut through the air. Any thug foolish enough to approach is dropped instantly, before they can even beg for mercy. Watching his men get easily slaughtered, the arrogant leader finally panics. Sweating bullets, he turns to run, but escaping our boy won't be that simple. Since they insisted on crossing that line, our boy had no reason to hold back. He moved like lightning, launching a fierce counterattack before the thugs even knew what hit them. The blonde leader thought he could escape, but he soon found himself staring into our boy's cold gaze. Before he could process the threat, a devastating blow sent him reeling. The fight ended in a flash, leaving the ground littered with the bodies of those who dared cross the line. A heavy silence fell over the crowd as the reality of the situation sank in. At this moment, the survivors realized the harsh truth. In this world, the strong make the rules. Looking at our boy's back, their fear was slowly replaced by a profound sense of awe. With such a gap in strength, running was useless. The only way to survive was to follow our boy's rules. Some began whispering about trading their precious points for safety. Instead of looting the weak, our boy sat by his box of essences, waiting for customers. This business-like approach offered a glimmer of hope to the terrified crowd. Finally, a survivor stepped forward and nervously asked to buy the essences. As the transaction went through, everyone realized that in this cruel game, points were the only currency for survival. Witnessing a successful trade, the rest of the crowd surged forward, waving their points in desperation. The battlefield turned into a marketplace, and our boy was making a massive profit. Despite the booming business, our boy remained cold and focused. He watched the desperate crowd while checking his loot, already preparing for the even greater challenges ahead. Seeing others trade essence for survival, the crowd goes absolutely crazy. Our boy happily accepts their desperate offers, raking in massive amounts of points as the system notifications keep chiming. Watching the desperate players rush toward the portal, Yoan pulls up his status. They might regret losing their stats later, but our guy is more than happy to walk away with a whopping 160,000 points. With the trades done, his temporary teammates eagerly step up, hoping to keep clinging to him. To them, even being used as bait is far better than facing the unknown dangers alone. However, our boy coldly shatters their illusion with a smirk. He bluntly states that relying on others will only get them killed, and besides, he's completely out of essence and isn't leaving. The teammates are completely stunned. They can't fathom why our boy would sell every last piece of essence without saving a single survival ticket for himself in this godforsaken place. Fear and confusion take over as time runs out. The teammates scream in panic, calling him a lunatic for staying behind, but Yoan remains completely unfazed by their breakdown. Tired of explaining, Yoan urges them to run for their lives before the zone closes. Left with no choice, they sprint toward the portal, leaving our boy standing alone in the ruined streets. As the portals close, the system announces the start of the 4th tutorial, Defense. Armed with his past memories, our boy's eyes sharpen. The real hellish slaughter is just beginning. With the city about to descend into chaos, the admin is sweating bullets. He grabs our boy's arm, anxious to flee before the brutal battle for essences begins. Amidst the apocalyptic scene, our boy remains perfectly calm. He stops the fleeing admin in his tracks, coldly demanding access to the store since there's still time left. Our guy asks where the usual Harlequin lackeys went. The admin complains that they had to be purged for taking bribes, leaving them terribly short-staffed. To make matters worse, our boy's actions cause hundreds of players to flood the store. Seeing the admin forced into retail work, he can't help but smirk without a shred of guilt. The admin warns that his record-breaking 160,000 points could destroy the tutorial's ecosystem. Unfazed, our guy stubbornly insists on his path, finally forcing the exhausted admin to yield. Once the advanced store interface finally appears, our boy wastes no time. He instantly drops 10,000 points just to unlock a spatial personal inventory. Then the real shopping spree begins. He secures the Arctic Steel Sword, a nullification shield, and a pyromancy robe, all crucial lifesavers to survive the impending disaster. Preparing for the disaster, our boy goes on a massive shopping spree. He grabs an anti-magic shield and an expensive pyromancer robe, leaving the admin baffled by his targeted choices. Next, he doesn't hesitate to buy ice pearls and a razor-sharp sword. He knows perfectly well that surviving the coming apocalypse requires the best gear possible. Seeing our guy fully geared up, the admin admits no one can scratch him now. But our boy coldly notes that regular players aren't the only threat. Leaving behind some cryptic words, the admin vanishes into a pillar of light. Our boy stands alone in the desolate ruins, quietly waiting for the final moment. As the countdown hits 0, a chilling system message echoes. Because no one cleared the tutorial perfectly, the annihilation protocol begins, instantly tearing the city apart. Deadly heat roasts the ground, leaving regular players screaming in agony. But our well-prepared boy remains completely unscathed, fully protected by his heat-resistant robe. The surviving players are left in absolute shock, watching him casually stroll through the inferno. However, this real test of survival has only just begun. The countdown hits 0, and the annihilation protocol begins. Terrifying hellfire instantly swallows the streets, leaving countless players screaming in despair as they burn. As the flames spread, hordes of skeleton demons crawl out. But our boy just stands calmly in the ruins. These grunts aren't the prey he's waiting for. Suddenly, with a deafening roar, a colossal fire demon known as Surutra violently tears through the flames, descending upon the ruins like a towering nightmare. Facing this apocalyptic presence, our boy doesn't flinch at all. Instead, he calmly readies his sword and shield, greeting the demon by name with a cold smirk. Looking at the raging behemoth, our guy goes straight for the disrespect. He openly mocks its shrunken size, and calls it nothing more than an emotional, oversized child. Those words instantly enrage Surutra, as his defiant gaze reminds the demon of the Monkey King. With a furious roar, it commands the endless skeleton army to charge right at him. Enraged by the taunts, the massive fire demon roars, commanding an endless army of flaming skulls to swarm our boy with endless suicide explosions. As the smoke clears, our boy stands unscathed behind his magic-resistant shield. Thanks to his premium fire-resistant cloak, brushing off the intense heat, paying for top-tier gear really pays off. "I didn't prepare all this just to meet you. I did it to kill you," our boy says with a smirk. The giant demon simply laughs off the arrogance, mocking him to survive the current wave first. Tired of the demon's endless talking, our guy draws his sword and charges right into the horde. With his premium gear and sharp skills, he slices through the flaming skulls like butter. With every flash of his blade, crowds of skeletons are shattered to pieces. As the system continuously pings with level-up notifications, he completely turns this deadly ambush into a perfect farming session. But the demon's assault doesn't slow down. Realizing numbers aren't enough, more flaming skulls cluster together, plunging the entire battlefield into a deafening chain of continuous explosions. Forced onto the defensive by the endless barrage, our boy braces his magic-resistant shield. He blocks the deadly shockwaves, but nasty cracks are already starting to form all over its surface. Amidst the blinding explosions and roaring fire, he holds his ground against the relentless suicide attacks. It's a close call, but the massive wave of experience points keeps rolling in, boosting his stats even further. However, as the battle drags on, things start getting tricky. Even with the fire-resistant cloak, breathing in this infernal heat for 2 straight hours is draining our boy's stamina much faster than expected. Looking at the endless waves of skeletons, he knows he can't keep burning through his mana like this. Since a battle of attrition is a dead end, it's time to force the big boss out for a real fight. With endless explosions and extreme heat taking their toll, our boy's shield is about to shatter. Knowing he can't win a war of attrition, he strikes Surutra's main body to force its hand. This strike not only provokes the demon, but sparks its interest in a human wielding god-tier gear. With an earth-shattering roar, Surutra begins to advance. Facing the demon's arrogant taunts, our boy refuses to back down, declaring he's here to hunt it. This completely ignites Surutra's fury, raising its apocalyptic flaming great sword for a devastating cleave. Instead of dodging this world-ending strike, our guy channels his remaining chi and raises his broken shield to take the blow head-on, the violent impact nearly shattering his defense. Even Surutra is baffled as to why the human intentionally didn't dodge. Pinned down in the blazing rubble, our boy feels like he's being roasted alive by the extreme heat. But he did it on purpose. This extreme life and death pressure perfectly recreates the desperate situation from his past life against the Monkey King, whose legendary weapons once pushed him to the absolute brink. And it's exactly this familiar near-death sensation that successfully triggers the system's hidden condition. Under the demon's crushing flames, our boy's monkey eyes finally begin their true evolution. Our boy has successfully awakened the A-rank skill, Cinnabar Eyes. Not only can these eyes see through lies, but they also grant immense fire resistance, a crucial edge for the deadly fight ahead. The battlefield is scorching, and even with top-tier gear, our boy feels like he's being roasted alive. Facing the imposing fire demon Surutra, His calm demeanor actually puts the monster on edge. Time to get serious. With his Arctic steel sword and ice crystals ready, our boy leaps into the air, thanking Sarutra for the hunt, a comment that clearly insults the proud demon. To neutralize the lethal heat, he swallows the ice crystals. As the chill flows through him, the burn debuff is removed, and his mana is infused with a bone-chilling ice attribute. Now shrouded in a freezing aura that's the polar opposite of the demon's heat, our boy charges through the flames. His sword, dripping with frost, clashes directly with the flaming beast. The violent collision triggers a shockwave that rocks the entire city. Luckily, his gear tanks the worst of the flames, and though he's taking a beating, our boy is still looking for an opening. The exchange of blows becomes a blur as the enraged demon lets out a deafening roar. Even as he's pushed back, our boy adjusts his stance, his fighting spirit only growing stronger. Seeing the demon press the attack, a look of grim determination crosses our boy's face. He grips his sword with both hands, meeting the giant weapon head-on in a flash of fire and purple lightning. Sensing a lethal area attack, our boy activates his battle prediction skill. Amidst the devastating ground slam and fire, he locks onto the enemy's trajectory, searching for a way to survive. To counter Sarutra's obliterating heat, our boy decisively consumes an ice crystal. The freezing aura coats his blade, allowing him to stand his ground in the sea of fire. Even the demon feels threatened by the icy aura. Knowing a drawn-out fight means death, our boy stops holding back his mana and channels everything into his arcane sword for a decisive strike. With a deafening crash, the two clash head-on. The enraged demon lets out a furious roar, unleashing a massive wave of fire to incinerate this arrogant challenger. But under the ultimate prediction of his golden-eyed fiery gaze, our guy not only dodges the lethal blow but also delivers a devastating downward strike, precisely hitting the demon's hidden energy core. The massive impact sends the arrogant boss reeling. Howling in pain, the demon refuses to believe that a mere tutorial rookie could push it to the brink of death. Our boy is also reaching his absolute limit. Even with his fiery gaze working overtime, he can't fully repel the annihilating flames. The rapidly rising burn levels feel like a countdown to death. Yet without a single step back, he plunges his blade straight through the demon's skull. With a final, desperate scream, the impossible hidden boss is completely annihilated. With a devastating strike from above, our boy's blade pierces right through the demon's core. The impossible battle is finally over. Completely exhausted, our guy collapses to the ground as the level up chimes. His unbelievable achievement actually causes the system to glitch, delaying the massive reward distribution. As the dust settles, he stares at his severely burned hands, feeling a bone-chilling cold inside. Despite the brutal injuries, it's not time to rest just yet. Dragging his battered body to the demon's corpse, he digs through the flesh and finally uncovers a glowing orange crystal. It's the ultra-rare giant's heart. Holding the priceless elixir, our boy calculates his next move. Consuming it in his current weakened state would be suicide. He needs to boost his stamina first. Just then, the tutorial administrator appears with a dark expression. He is completely fed up with our guy for turning the beginner zone completely upside down. Ignoring the admin's complaints about the ruined game balance, our boy comfortably lies back on the demon's corpse. With the fourth tutorial already underway, the real challenge has just begun. The tutorial admin finally shows up, shaking our boy's hand to compensate him with a massive 10,000 points and a rare A+ skill called Star of Heaven Subjugation. Even our usually all-knowing guy is slightly surprised. It's an unfinished growth-type skill that evolves by gathering lives, and the free stat boosts alone are an absolute steal. But recovery comes first. Without hesitation, our boy blows all his newly acquired points on a high-grade healing pill. Watching him down it instantly, the admin explains the rest and quietly leaves. The pricey pill works wonders, instantly healing his wounds while permanently boosting his stamina. He lies back on the ruins comfortably, ready to make the most of this 4-hour break to rest up. However, the brief peace is shattered by violent tremors. The system's cold voice echoes across the sky once more, announcing that the fifth and final tutorial has officially begun. Our guy lands smoothly onto the massive new map like a meteor. Meanwhile, all the surviving players from different zones are gathered here for the first time, discussing their unfamiliar surroundings in confusion. Before anyone can process the situation, the system drops the cold, hard truth: the massive island is sinking, and their only way out is to climb the volcano and defeat the final boss. The true hellish survival trial has just surfaced. As the final tutorial begins, the survivors are teleported to an isolated island. Seeing the massive 30-day time limit, Everyone is stunned. It's a clear warning that the final boss is going to be terrifyingly strong. While the other players are still discussing how to form alliances, the blonde Olympus successor, Hargan, abruptly interrupts them. He bluntly states that these weaklings aren't even worth his time. Before anyone can react, Hargan unleashes overwhelming lightning magic, instantly blowing away everyone who refuses to submit. His pure blood dominance leaves the crowd completely terrified. Watching quietly from the shadows, our boy perfectly understands the terrifying power of this pure blood player. However, he hates noisy crowds and has no intention of getting involved, planning to just walk away. Unexpectedly, Hargan is now casually resting on the ground. Our boy decides to walk right up to him. The moment Hargan spots our guy's rare pyromancy robe, he instantly realizes he's facing someone truly extraordinary. Seeing the high-tier gear our boy is rocking, stuff that shouldn't even exist in the tutorial, Hargan is completely floored and starts questioning reality. When Hargan tries to pitch a team-up, our guy doesn't even blink. He delivers a flat no and walks away, keeping things strictly business. Not taking no for an answer, Hargan tries to catch up, but our boy vanishes into a blur, leaving nothing but cracked earth and a shocked witness. Next, the ghouls in the woods have a really bad day. Our boy is a walking calamity. Wherever his lightning strikes, monsters are blown to bits. Breaking into a cold sweat, Hargan starts wildly guessing our guy's origins, wondering if he's some legendary master from the Murim dimension. Realizing he's encountered a true monster, Hargan gets hyped instead of scared. But in the time it takes him to blink, our boy is already long gone. While Hargan is left marveling at that explosive power, our boy has already charged into deadlier zones to him. The tutorial balance is already a joke. Finding the tutorial's outer monsters too weak, our guy decides the balance is a joke. Seeking a real challenge, he steps right up to a hidden, perilous cave. As soon as he enters, a fierce gnoll lunges at him. Our boy doesn't hold back, instantly obliterating the monster with a lightning-fast, bone-crushing punch. Yet, looking at the pile of corpses and his barely moving skill progression, he gets a bit frustrated. He knows that grinding slowly like this won't save the future. After shaking off the weaklings, he stops deep inside the cave. Pulling out the highly volatile giant's heart, he swallows it raw without a second thought to claim its power. But absorbing it comes with a brutal price. The conflicting demon and giant bloodlines explode within him, forcing our guy to his knees in agonizing, bone-crushing pain. Clawing at the rocky ground, he uses his fiery golden eyes to forcefully suppress the raging energies. While his body nears collapse, his base stats skyrocket through the unbearable torture. The brutal tug-of-war lasts for half a day. Exhausted and flat on his back, our boy finally feels the terrifying new power coursing through his hands, wondering if it was all worth it. After enduring body-shattering agony, our boy finally uses his cinder eyes to suppress the chaotic bloodlines. The system confirms his success. He has perfectly absorbed the power of giants and demons. Seeing the prompts for his new gigantification ability and the roundtable link, our boy finally lets out a breath. The overwhelming exhaustion instantly kicks in, making him pass out on the spot. Waking up, he realizes he's been out cold for half a day. With less than a week left on the tutorial timer, our guy quickly shakes off the fatigue, determined to break the fastest clear record. The current record holder is none other than Odin, the great magical warrior of Asgard. Swearing to beat him, our boy checks the current rankings, noting that Hargan is dominating first place. Glancing at the leaderboards, our boy briefly recalls the powerful rankers from other worlds in his past life. But there's no time to reminisce. Getting stronger is all that matters right now. Checking his drastically improved stats panel, our guy steps out of the cave, feeling completely reborn. Now, all he needs is to find some unlucky targets to test out his brand new skills. Speak of the devil. He soon stumbles into an orc tribe's territory. Facing these clueless monsters calling him prey, our boy simply raises his hand. What a perfect test site for his giant's fire. Meanwhile, our boy unleashes a massive fire in the orc village. The terrifying flames instantly engulf the area, leaving the arrogant monsters with no chance to escape. With flashing lightning and sharp blade strikes, this one-sided massacre quickly comes to an end. The ground is covered in charred remains, while our guy barely breaks a sweat. Thanks to this highly efficient wipeout, he earns a massive amount of points, causing his ranking to skyrocket. And there are only 6 days left until this tutorial ends. Meanwhile, Hargan, the son of Olympus sitting comfortably at the top, notices this sudden dark horse. Listening to his team's reports, he becomes highly intrigued by this guy named Kim Yuan. After all, on the current leaderboard, our boy's points have surged wildly, putting him straight into second place and breathing right down Hargan's neck. To secure his first place position, Hargan wastes no more time. Leading his newly recruited team of top-tier geniuses, he sets off on a brand new hunting expedition. The elf in the team casts a tracking magic. The glowing blue sphere acts like a compass, finally helping them lock onto the exact location of the hidden dungeon. The group rushes to the target location. Seeing the sealed entrance, Hargan smirks confidently. He motions for his teammates to step back and gathers fierce yellow lightning in his right hand. With a deafening blast, his lightning strike forcibly blows the door open. But as the dust settles, the team peeks inside and instantly freezes in shock. Has someone already beaten him to this spot? Hargan and his elite team storm into the dungeon, only to find the massive cave surprisingly quiet. The elf veteran quickly senses something is off. There's strange magic in the air, and not even a system message pops up to announce the dungeon. Looking at the fresh battle ruins, Hargan realizes someone beat them to it. His teammate, sweating profusely, stammers at him to check the rankings. Swiping open the glowing blue system panel, Hargan's eyes widen in shock. That guy, Kim Yuan, has already crushed him and taken the #1 spot. Looking down the tunnel, the bug monsters have already been blasted into pieces. Clearly, our boy went on a solo rampage to farm points. They expect their proud captain to explode in anger. Instead, they notice that this unprecedented setback has completely ignited Hargan's competitive spirit. Since the monsters are wiped out, it's a race of speed now. Their core fighter Yulch smartly suggests splitting up at the crossroads, and Hargan instantly agrees. These elite genius players quickly form their squads. With a top-tier fighter like Yulch leading the right path, they get ready for action without a second thought. With a massive discharge of magic and deafening explosions, Hargan's team goes all out, determined to violently catch up to our boy's pace. Meanwhile, Yulch and Hargan's team are caught in a fierce battle. Facing a massive horde of green-skinned monsters, they coordinate flawlessly to wipe out the enemies. The relentless hunting has left the entire team exhausted. Following a series of heavy tremors, they stumble upon a massive, sealed archway, guessing the boss must be right behind it. Knowing they can't afford to be careless against an unknown threat, the team quickly rallies, bracing themselves for what they expect to be a brutal fight. But just as they rush up to breach the doors, a sudden system notification stops them dead in their tracks. Boss raid ended. Staring at the prompt in absolute disbelief, Halon immediately checks the contribution rankings. Sure enough, sitting right at the top is a name he knows all too well. Inside the dark room sits the absolute madman who cleared the boss before they even arrived. Realizing they got beaten to the punch again, an infuriated Haldon screams his name. Unfazed by the distant shouting, our boy is busy catching his breath. Watching his massive rewards roll in, he rubs his burning eye, realizing that hunting high-tier bosses is the ultimate shortcut to power. Flashback to our boy going absolutely all out. Soloing the boss with overwhelming power instantly rewarded him with massive contribution points and a sweet level up. Checking his soaring stats, he quickly realized something crucial. Grinding low-level mobs was a waste of time. To get truly strong, he had to hunt the heavy hitters. Right then, Hargan's elite squad arrived at the scene. Seeing our guy standing on the massive corpse, even these seasoned pros were completely stunned in disbelief. After recovering from the initial shock, they immediately realized he was an absolute monster. Without hesitation, the squad extended an olive branch, inviting him to join their team. Facing the sudden offer, our boy didn't answer right away. He quietly sized them up, confirming they were indeed Hargan's core crew full of top-ranked players. Although he knew this squad was powerful, our guy was a lone wolf. To maintain his max hunting efficiency, he firmly rejected their kind offer. Hearing his blunt refusal, Hargan's members felt things getting tricky. They desperately tried to explain that the core of the tutorial was teamwork, hoping to change his mind. The negotiation clearly hit a dead end. Just as the tension peaked, a blinding thunderbolt struck from the sky. Hargan himself crashed down, launching a devastating probe attack straight at our boy. Our boy just finished a fight when Hargan's team tracks him down. Yulch, looking dead serious, immediately calls her captain, warning him that this Kim Yuan guy is going to be trouble. Right on cue, a massive bolt of lightning tears through the sky. Hargan makes a grand entrance, landing with enough force to practically flip the ground as he launches a testing strike at our boy. Hargan doesn't waste time and charges in, wreathed in electricity. But as the smoke clears, our boy is just chilling there, completely unfazed after taking that lethal blow head-on. Yulch and the crew are completely stunned seeing our boy without a scratch. The tension is palpable, as this level of power is way beyond what any normal newbie should handle. They call a temporary ceasefire, and Yulch starts grilling our boy about rankers. She's baffled how does a newcomer not even in the tower yet know about the secrets of those at the very top. Facing the skepticism of the Olympus prodigy, our boy simply points upward. He bluntly tells them that his goal isn't to be some ordinary ranker, or even a high ranker. I'm going to break the ceiling of this tower. When our boy drops that bombshell, his eyes show an unshakable confidence that leaves the entire group speechless. It sounds crazy, but Hargan felt that power firsthand during their clash. Looking at his own minor injuries, he isn't angry instead, he's completely captivated by our boy's wild ambition. Laughing, Hargan mentions his father, Zeus, the king of gods. To see if our boy really has what it takes to break that ceiling, he proposes a bet to see who truly takes the top spot in the tutorial. Despite Yuan rejecting his team offer again, Hargan refuses to give up. He boldly declares he's no small fry, and the future king of Olympus won't be underestimated. To prove his worth, Hargan proposes a bet on who can score more points in the boss fight. If our boy wins, Hargan vows to serve him like a loyal younger brother. Our boy has no interest in playing Big Brother, but he knows Hargan will be a crucial wild card later. He sets his own term, one unconditional favor if he wins. They seal the deal with a solid fist bump. Satisfied with the wager, Hargan turns away, eagerly looking forward to crossing paths again on the first floor. Just as Hargan is about to leave, our boy casually calls him back. Following his gaze to the floating system timer, they realize time has completely stopped. Meanwhile, a terrifying surge of energy suddenly erupts in the distance. Hargan's team looks on in shock, realizing a far more horrifying threat still lurks in the area. Looking at a totally bewildered Hargan, our boy drops the bomb. The hidden boss they just killed was merely a parasite feeding on the massive mythic beast right beneath their feet. Seeing the frozen timer, Halon is totally confused. Our boy calmly explains that the island is actually a mythical beast, and the boss they killed was just a parasite. Hearing that the island will sink if the beast dies, Haldon is stunned. He can't help but wonder how our guy knows secrets even Olympus is clueless about. Killing the parasite early caused a massive system glitch. Our boy knows that time will remain completely frozen until the admins fix it. It's free farming time. Realizing this, the crew stops staring and immediately grabs their weapons, grinding levels like crazy while the clock is stopped. Meanwhile, in the system backend, a bunch of goofy admins are sweating bullets. Panicking over the critical bug, they frantically try to contact their higher-ups for a rescue. After some frantic fixing by the admins, time finally resumes. Waiting for these red-skinned monsters is our boy, dropping in like the Grim Reaper for a one-sided slaughter. Seeing their boss get one shot, the surviving monsters scream in terror, calling him the real monster. Our guy just smirks and keeps his blade moving. Amidst a rain of blood and despair, the system returns to normal. Our boy checks the ticking timer, knowing the free ride is over, but the real challenge has just begun. After a brutal grinding session, our boy finally arrives at the massive tower. Checking his inventory, he realizes he's secured a solid 4-day head start, while the crowd gathers below. Anticipating the upcoming boss fight, strong players are gathering from all sides. Hargan's teammates observe the crowd, noting that many have already broken past level 20. Even these elites are anxious about the unknown boss. Resting on the ground, they can only place their hopes on their monstrously strong captain to lead the way. Familiar footsteps break the silence as our boy arrives alone, casually teasing them for being late. Meanwhile, he sharply notices that Hargan's team has grown significantly stronger. Right on cue, Hargan makes his entrance. Seeing Yuan flying solo to hog all the points, the golden boy calls him a madman, fully aware of the massive 7,000-point gap between them. When a few random opportunists try to leech off Yuan's non-existent team, Hargan loses his temper. With a violent burst of lightning, he effortlessly blasts the shameless crowd away. Ignoring the scattered crowd, our boy calmly announces he's heading straight in. With time running out, the ultimate boss kill race between these two monsters is officially on. Hearing our boy's crazy plan to clear the stage in 5 days, Hargan laughs out loud. The Olympus prodigy is officially fired up, and their boss hunting rivalry begins. However, the moment they step into the boss area, something feels off. The monsters have formed a massive, united front waiting for the intruders. A sudden barrage of deadly spears and spikes rains down, instantly turning the vanguard area into an absolute, chaotic war zone. While other players are overwhelmed, Our boy stays remarkably calm. He quickly deduces that someone in the shadows is orchestrating this abnormal horde. Since the mastermind won't show itself, it's time to force it out. Our guy unleashes his divine skill, plunging a blazing sword straight into the ground. The violent energy blast sends bystanders flying. Watching from afar, Hargan smirks, eager to see the true power of the monster who broke all the records. A massive explosion completely shatters the ground, leaving the nearby spectators absolutely speechless at such an overwhelming display of raw force. Feeling our boy's immense presence, Hargan's competitive spirit explodes. Cloaked in violent golden lightning, he charges forward with a roar, refusing to be outshined. They plunge deeper underground, where Hargan effortlessly blasts through deadly arrow traps with his lightning. However, this reckless charge is leading them straight to a sealed ancient terror. The path deeper underground is riddled with dangers, as violent energy blasts and deadly traps trigger one after another. A massive explosion engulfs the corridor, blasting even the skilled team backward. Despite being pinned down by intense energy waves, no one in the team backs down. Working together, they force their defenses open amidst the flying debris and flames, trying to carve a path through the deadly traps. With a loud shout, Hargan summons a dazzling blue energy ball, launching a fierce strike to clear the way. Watching his energetic teammates, our boy silently approves at least they will be a great help in this tough battle. Barely surviving the barrage of traps, Hargan spots something unusual on the broken stone walls. Our guy steps up to examine it closely, finding a massive mural depicting a brutal, ancient war. Gently touching the faded battle outlines on the mural, a sharp glint flashes in our boy's eyes. He knows exactly that the extremely dangerous mastermind they are looking for is hiding right behind these heavy doors. Before they can even fully step inside, a deafening roar hits them like a hurricane, freezing the team with its terrifying pressure. Even though our boy knows exactly what this monster is, his expression turns unprecedentedly serious. Hargan cautiously shields his teammates. Looking through the settling dust, a colossal green beast, tightly bound by heavy chains, looms before them. As the system's notification chimes, the ultimate synthetic beast chimera finally bares its fangs. Reading the system's task to defeat the final boss, our boy keenly spots a loophole. The rules hint that breaking the crystal not only tames the chimera, but also grants massive points for hunting players. Seeing him approach the crystal, the team panics. Hargan fiercely grabs our boy by the collar, terrified that he's about to stab them in the back for the rewards. Facing Hargan's furious interrogation about betrayal, our boy doesn't even try to explain. Ignoring the crackling lightning weapon aimed at him, he decisively makes his move on the seal. With a massive energy blast, the sealing crystal is completely shattered. Over Hargan's shocked shouts, the system officially announces, the chimera is free, and our boy is its new master. The colossal beast breaks out, sweeping the area with a violent shockwave. While an enraged Hargan tries to confront him, our boy calmly gives the monster its first order: smash the wall. As the wall collapses, our boy finally reassures his team that the pet won't attack them. Looking at a confused Hargan, his eyes turn cold, because now, we hunt the true final boss. With the massive chain chimera looming above, an oppressive atmosphere fills the air. Looking at our unusually calm boy, Halhan can't help but ask what exactly they are fighting next if not the beast. Following his gaze into the depths of the cave, the team is horrified. The twisted monsters writhing in the shadows are brutally stitched together from human and creature remains. Sweat drips down Halgan's face as he wonders what pure malice is hidden here. But our boy remains completely calm, staring into the abyss, knowing exactly where the real mastermind is lurking. Stepping into a room filled with scattered debris, the system updates the target to the chimera's creator. Our boy narrows his eyes and boldly calls out into the darkness, "Stop hiding. How long are you gonna sleep?" Before his words even echo, he turns into a red blur, dashing straight toward the core of the abyss. His relentless charge leaves the enemy no time to prepare. Accompanied by sickening noises, a corpse-like hooded figure finally emerges from the dark. The true final boss, the creator of the chimera, makes its grand entrance, stepping over the ruined bodies. Seeing our boy charging in, the necromancer smirks with an eerie grin. He finds it amusing that our guy chose teamwork over solo points, but he's about to pay the ultimate price for his arrogance. Child arrogantly mocks Hargan's lineage, completely oblivious to the danger. Before Hargan can explode, our boy calmly steps in and exposes Child's true identity as the notorious, long-lost 50th floor examiner. Hargan is shocked to face the madman who used players for sick experiments. However, our guy mercilessly roasts Child, revealing he was stripped of his powers and forced to create tutorial bosses for a millennium. Child is visibly shaken, unable to comprehend how a rookie knows his dark past. Before he can even process it, an enraged Hargan unleashes a massive, devastating wave of lightning right at his face. Child's terrifying mana leaves Hargan questioning if he really lost his powers. Meanwhile, our boy activates his glowing red eyes, making the villain sweat and wonder if he's related to the legendary Monkey King. Ignoring the villain's questions, our boy shows zero mercy. Disgusted by the trash, who tormented countless players, he unleashes a devastating wave of energy, instantly tearing through the monstrous chimeras in his path. The sheer scale of the battle leaves everyone absolutely stunned. But fired up by the chaos, Hargan orders a full-scale assault, turning the underground cavern into an explosive and fiery slaughterhouse. Right in the center of the chaos, our guy forcefully pushes his body's limits. Charging forward like an unstoppable meteor, he brutally smashes massive chimeras out of his way with pure, overwhelming force. Looking at the scattered remains, our boy acutely realizes these aren't ordinary monsters, they're evolving chimeras. Still, he lands smoothly, acknowledging that having Hargan squad around definitely makes cleaning up the trash much easier. Facing this deadly trap, the villain unleashes an indestructible black box, arrogantly declaring his plan to turn our boy into just another mindless chimera. Instead of panicking, our guy steps up and delivers a devastating punch. Seeing the terrifying power radiating from that arm, the villain is left completely speechless. This overwhelming force is none other than the signature skill of Hercules' gigantification. Even though the unmastered power threatens to tear his body apart, he refuses to stop. Enraged, the villain lunges forward, swearing to tear his prey apart. Our boy simply scoffs at the threat, fearlessly launching a countercharge straight into the storm of attacks. Their energies clash violently in midair. Facing a massive storm of poisonous fangs, our guy uses his sharp instincts to skillfully dodge through the explosive debris. Channeling Hercules' advice, he pushes past his limits and shatters all defenses to ruthlessly crush the enemy. He might have won this battle, but what about the rampaging power inside him? Seeing our boy unleash such terrifying raw power, the monster completely panics. He instantly summons a massive spiked wall, desperately hoping to block the incoming onslaught. But our boy is playing for keeps. Ignoring the extreme strain threatening to tear his arm apart, he relentlessly shatters the so-called ultimate defense, leaving the boss absolutely terrified. The severe backlash leaves our boy in agonizing pain, and the villain gloats, thinking his opponent is ruined. Yet in the very next second, our boy lunges forward again for the final strike. Amidst the devastating energy collision, our boy recalls the ultimate killing technique taught by his past life comrades. With his eyes glowing a fierce red, he punches straight through the enemy's body. As the invincible boss finally falls, this impossible cross-level kill is cemented. And behind this glorious victory, the phantom images of his past life divine comrades seem to be watching over him through time and space. Even battered and bruised, Child is still running his mouth. He boasts that his dark magic-infused body makes him completely immortal. Too bad he's dealing with our boy. Activating his golden eyes, he coldly points out that a patched-together body is just full of obvious weak spots to him. Without missing a beat, our guy unleashes a devastating strike right at the fatal flaw. The massive energy blast shatters the monster's defenses, making it scream in agony. Realizing he's about to be completely obliterated, the once arrogant boss breaks down, begging him to stop. But his desperate pleas earn zero sympathy from our boy. As the boss turns to dust, the generous system rewards finally roll in. Beating a hidden boss unlocks an incredible achievement, giving him a massive boost in stats and levels. Meanwhile, with the creator dead, the remaining chimeras all collapse and turn to ash. The surviving team members finally breathe a massive sigh of relief. Just when everyone thinks the nightmare is over, a panicked cry for help rings out. It turns out Yolch, one of their core fighters, has been critically wounded. With the monster horde completely wiped out, Hargan's team rushes to treat their heavily injured teammate. They survived, but the cost was brutal. Seeing his teammate on the brink of death, Hargan snaps. He grabs our boy, furiously asking why he risked everyone's lives just to hunt a hidden boss. To Hargan, there were much safer ways to clear the stage. He just can't understand this suicidal playstyle that treats allies like expendable pawns. Facing the harsh accusations, our guy's eyes remain cold. He reveals the terrifying truth. The upcoming invasion of the outer gods will slaughter even the strongest rankers effortlessly. To prevent that inevitable apocalypse, he has no choice. He must squeeze every drop of resource to get stronger, even if there's no end in sight to this bloody path. This is exactly why he flat out rejects Hargan's party invite. His path is paved with thorns, and dragging ordinary people along will only lead to their deaths. Right as they finish their heavy talk, a sloppy hobo suddenly wanders in. While everyone else is confused, our boy is instantly on guard. This old man is actually the highest tutorial administrator. While Hargan is completely terrified by the sudden appearance of the administrator, our boy remains unfazed, casually negotiating with the manager. The administrator is actually highly satisfied with Yuan's performance. As a special reward, he hands over the Dark Divine Crystal, a core material needed to forge God-tier equipment. Our boy is thrilled to get this top-tier item so early. With all conditions met, the tutorial finally concludes, and the portal to the tower's first floor opens. A massive energy vortex envelopes everyone. As they are teleported, the manager gives Yuan one last meaningful look, holding high expectations for this rule-breaking rookie. If he's going to cause trouble, he might as well turn the tower upside down. The administrator hopes our boy will become the massive wave that shakes the entire system. As the system window pops up, the rankings are officially announced. Without a doubt, Yuan dominates first place, breaking all records and claiming massive points. Alongside the points, the system grants him a mysterious, glowing purple egg. Armed with this ultimate reward, our boy steps into the first floor, but the real danger has just begun. After the transfer, our boy immediately checks his rewards. Alongside the points, he discovers a mysterious egg that even the system can't identify. The group finally sets foot on the meadow of beginnings. Their surprisingly early arrival catches the veteran players off guard. Hargan quickly spots the Olympus faction lurking around. When asked about his plans, he firmly states he'll honor their bet and refuse any guild invites. Curious about the earlier chaos, Hargan asks for the truth about Olympus. Instead of explaining, our boy tells him to uncover their hypocritical facade himself. In return, Hargan gives a serious warning. He tells our boy to always watch his back against the jackals who prey on lone newbies. Their conversation is interrupted by a knight in a red cape. The man arrogantly introduces himself as Agamemnon of Olympus, addressing Hargan directly. Facing these heavily armed lapdogs, Hargan coldly claps back. By casually bringing up their boss Ares, he makes the tension in the air instantly spike. Meanwhile, Ares' subordinate arrogantly delivers orders from the higher-ups. This hits Hargan's nerve, causing him to almost lose control as lightning sparks wildly around him. Unfazed by Hargan's suppressed anger, the messenger casually leaves a contemptuous warning before turning away with his men. When his subordinate asks about the dark-haired guy from earlier, the usually arrogant Hargan just smirks, surprisingly acknowledging our boy as a friend. Meanwhile, our boy is targeted by the jackals who prey on solo newbies. Facing over 20 thugs, he calmly pulls out a newly acquired crystal to test his stealth skills on these poor fools. Seeing our boy all alone in a high-tier robe, the jackals hiding in the dark think they've found a walking treasure chest. The greedy leader immediately orders the hunt. But just as they prepare to strike, their prey vanishes. Before the bandits can even react, sharp blades tear through the crowd, catching them completely off guard. Panic quickly spreads through the jackals. Facing this invisible reaper, their counterattacks are completely useless. The robbery has turned into a brutal massacre, and our boy's real interrogation is just about to begin. Surrounded by thugs, our boy doesn't panic. He uses them as test dummies for his new invisibility, instantly wiping them out before they even know what hit them. The last survivor is terrified. Seeing him still trying to act tough, our boy grabs him by the neck, coldly threatening to finish the job if he doesn't cooperate. The threat works instantly. As our boy interrogates him at knife point about the craftsman's whereabouts, the thug shock confirms he hit the jackpot on his first try. With the information in hand, our guy heads to a local tavern to take a quick breather. The rare moment of peace finally allows his exhausted body to relax. Looking at the peaceful streets below, he can't help but reminisce about the old days with his comrades. He wonders how they're holding up in that doomed future. Shaking off the memories, our boy examines the glowing crystal. It worked well against the thugs, but he knows it's still just a rough, unrefined product. To unleash its true power, he must find that legendary craftsman to refine it. Once this crystal is perfected, the enemies hiding in the shadows won't know what hit them. To unlock the true, god-tier power of his dark crystal, our boy knows he must track down a legendary blacksmith hidden on the first floor. Armed with a faintly glowing clue, our boy searches all over town. But finding an old man who wants to stay hidden is proving to be quite a headache. Just when he's out of leads, a street commotion catches his eye. A gang of arrogant thugs is bullying the weak and extorting points at knife point. Our boy has zero patience for this trash. He steps in and delivers a brutal beatdown, sending the clueless punks flying before they can even finish their threats. After taking out the trash, the rhythmic sound of hammering guides his way. Pushing open an old door, he's instantly greeted by a wave of blistering sounding like heat. Hearing the noise, a white-haired old man turns around with an annoyed expression. Seeing this grumpy master artisan, our boy knows the real business is just about to begin. The old blacksmith ruthlessly roasts our boy's broken sword, complaining with total disgust that it's nothing more than a failed blunt weapon. Facing the old man's vigilant questioning, our guy doesn't panic. He simply shatters the nearby objects to show off his true strength. To ease the blacksmith's doubts, he reveals a glowing token proving he's just a new player on the first floor. The sheer power instantly shocks the old man. Getting straight to business, our boy calmly pulls out a glowing blue crystal and officially requests to forge a legendary artifact. The moment he sees the top-tier crystal, the previously arrogant blacksmith loses his mind. His eyes light up with pure excitement as he begs to examine it. The old man confidently guarantees he can refine it, but his jaw drops again when he hears this godly material was merely a tutorial reward. After calming down, the blacksmith explains he can only refine it initially. To unlock its full potential, they must find materials worthy of its power. Looking at his rundown workshop, the old man can't help but test our boy, asking if he truly trusts him with such a precious treasure. When asked if he fears being robbed, our guy calmly replies that he's a good judge of character. In the blacksmith's eyes, he only sees pure, unready passion for forging. Taking the newly forged weapon from the blacksmith, our boy gives it a quick swing. He immediately points out a fatal flaw in the sword's balance. Hearing this expert critique, the famously stubborn old blacksmith is initially stunned before bursting into laughter, clearly impressed by our guy's insight. Having proved his worth, our boy secures the blacksmith's help. However, the old man sets a strict condition: the artifact's true nature must remain an absolute secret. With the gear commissioned, our boy settles into a tavern for breakfast. Knowing the weapon takes 10 days, he uses the downtime to plot the annihilation of the Jackal gang. Just as he's strategizing, a heavy hand slams onto the table. The blonde-haired Hargan suddenly appears, having scoured the city's taverns just to track him down. Unfazed by the dramatic entrance, our guy drops a deadpan joke that completely catches the hot-headed Hargan off guard, quickly diffusing the tension. As Hargan casually steals a bite of breakfast, our boy seizes the moment to propose an alliance. The stage is now set for a ruthless purge of the Jackal gang. Over a meal, Hargan excitedly proposes that the two of them team up to completely wipe out the notorious Jackal gang. Our boy calmly tells him to come back in 2 nights, but Hargan is so pumped that he immediately dashes out to clear his schedule. Amused by his energy, our boy watches him leave. But his expression quickly turns cold as he calls out an uninvited guest lurking in the shadows. The lurker turns out to be a representative from Olympus. Approaching with an arrogant attitude, he makes his identity known and demands a little chat. As they sit down, the representative starts with some backhanded compliments, subtly belittling Hargan while trying to drive a wedge between the two. Finally, he reveals his true agenda. With a condescending tone, he invites our boy to serve Ares, even throwing a vile insult at Hargan's lineage. There's no way our guy will let that slide. Facing the arrogant recruitment pitch from the Olympus representative, our boy isn't buying it. He calmly finishes his tea, ready to just up and leave. Disbelief washes over the representative as our guy outright refuses. He even mentions turning down Hargan, bluntly mocking Ares as nothing more than trash. Hearing this, the representative's face twists in anger, but our boy completely ignores him, leaving a cold, oppressive glare before stating he'd never associate with such vile beings. News of the failed recruitment reaches the Olympus higher-ups, sending them into a table-slamming fury. Enraged by his defiance, they decide it's time to unleash their shadow forces. Some think it's absurd to go to such lengths for a new player. Still, to eliminate this record-breaking threat, the order is coldly given: gather 100 jackals and wipe him out. 2 days later, our boy leads Hargan through a bustling market to meet a mysterious contact. Trailing behind, Hargan is completely lost in his own suspicious thoughts. Recalling our guy's intimidating fiery red eyes and overwhelming power from past battles, Hargan can't help but connect him to the legendary Monkey King, Sun Wukong. Staring at the always calm back of his companion, Hargan's curiosity only deepens. Though our guy's true identity remains a mystery, following him means the real storm is just beginning. On the way, Hargan was still pondering if our boy's monstrous strength came from legendary giants. But before he could dig deeper, Yuan's voice snapped him back to reality. They arrived at a seemingly ordinary shop. Our boy casually called out the owner, who immediately played dumb and tried to brush them off with a "we're closed" excuse. The owner calmly wrote down a fake name, asking them to leave a message. But he clearly underestimated our boy, who wasn't about to play along with this little act. In a flash, our boy unleashed a devastating strike. The disguised shopkeeper was sent flying backward through his own store before he even had a chance to react. As the man crashed to the floor, our boy loomed over him with piercing red eyes. He coldly ordered him to stay put, ruthlessly exposing his true identity as the Jackal King. Despite being pinned down, the guy frantically played the victim, crying out about a misunderstanding. Seeing this, even Hargan started to doubt if they had just assaulted an innocent civilian. But our boy always brings the receipts. He pointed out the poison dagger the owner had secretly thrown. Watching the toxic blade melt right through the floorboards, all of Hargan's doubts vanished. Faced with the brutal truth, Hargan is visibly shaken, his eyes burning with absolute fury. Meanwhile, our boy stays ice cold, looking down at the defeated Jackal leader to extract more intel. Hearing the confession, Hargan's anger physically manifests as crackling lightning. He simply can't process that the Olympus top brass he deeply respected is actually pulling the strings behind these thugs. Seeing Hargan spiraling, our boy smoothly takes over the interrogation. He throws out a massive bluff, using the Lord of the Heavens to convince the captive that he could be serving the true gods instead. The promise of a high-ranking position in Olympus is too good to resist. The captive starts to swallow the bait, while Hargan just listens to our boy's flawless lie in disbelief. With the prey firmly on the hook and eagerly asking for instructions, our boy cuts to the chase. Staring down at the captive with absolute authority, he prepares to hand out his secret mission. After learning the Jackals have over 1,000 members, our boy drops his ultimate command: gather every single one of them secretly by tomorrow midnight. He's clearly setting the stage for a massive wipeout. Stepping outside, Hargan finally snaps. He furiously demands to know why our boy used his father's name, desperately struggling to deny the ugly truth that Olympus is rotten to the core. Hargan simply can't accept the cruel truth about Olympus. But our boy relentlessly pushes him to take off his rose-tinted glasses and see the corruption for what it is. The shattering of his lifelong beliefs leaves Hargan in deep agony. He is left alone for 2 days to make a choice that could change everything. 2 days later, Hargan finally reappears. Seeing his solemn face, our boy casually remarks that if he had been any later, he would have started the raid without him. Closing his eyes, Hargan recalls his pride as a child of Olympus. He admits his struggle with the fear of betrayal, while our boy calmly waits for his final decision. Violent lightning erupts from his hand. Hargan's eyes burn with absolute resolve. If the Jackals are the hidden cancer of Olympus, he will personally wipe out this disgrace. Meanwhile, deep within a dark and damp underground lair, hundreds of Jackal gang members are frantically gathering from all directions, like bloodthirsty beasts. The fearsome Jackal King makes his arrogant entrance. Ready to unleash his newly funded thugs, little do they know that a devastating thunderstorm is already heading straight for their lair. Meanwhile, in the gloomy underground lair, the elusive Jackal King gathers thousands of his ruthless subordinates. He arrogantly hypes up his men, promising them absolute glory. The cavern echoes with the fanatic cheers of the mob. The Olympus envoys then hand over a massive bounty for hunting our boy. Blinded by greed, the Jackal King completely lets his guard down. But just as the gang gloats over their fortune, danger strikes. A cold time to say goodbye is followed by a sharp snap, and the cache bursts into flames. Our boy and Hargan had already set the trap. Igniting the secretly spread oil, Hargan unleashes a massive explosion, turning the lair into a blazing inferno. The explosion instantly engulfed the lair. The panicking thugs only realized too late that the liquid soaking the ground wasn't water, but highly flammable oil. In response to their terrified questions, our boy coldly stated he was just taking out the trash. Meanwhile, a furious Hargan swore to personally erase these disgraces. Without another word, Hargan descended like a god of thunder. His violent lightning mercilessly blasted the grunts away, turning the chaotic battlefield into a completely one-sided massacre. Desperate, a leader tried to use a crystal to call for backup. But before he could figure out why the signal failed, our guy was already looming over him. With a chilling smirk, our boy explained the harsh truth. In a space overflowing with violent mana, those fancy communication devices instantly become useless junk. Driven into a corner, the desperate villain launched a suicidal attack. But the power gap was absolute, and he was instantly impaled, his face frozen in pure shock. As the flames raged, the once arrogant Jackal King collapsed helplessly. Looming over him like a demon from the inferno, our boy prepared to deliver the final judgment. As the nest collapses into ruins amidst the blazing fire, the one-sided massacre finally concludes. Our heroes can finally catch their breath by the rubble. Even knowing they were ruthless thugs, wiping out over 1,000 enemies still left Hargan feeling slightly guilty. He wondered how our boy stayed so perfectly calm. Our guy calmly explains his logic of killing one to save 100. Showing mercy to such vile scum would only cost more innocent lives in the long run. These words instantly clear Hargan's doubts. He looks at our boy with newfound admiration, realizing that beneath the cold-blooded exterior lies a true warrior of justice. Faced with this sudden praise, our boy quickly changes the tune. Who says justice doesn't pay? Since Hargan put in so much effort, he definitely deserves a real reward. He smoothly pulls out a massive stack of confiscated cash to test the waters. The once righteous Hargan instantly breaks character, desperately demanding his fair share of the loot. To protect his newfound wealth, our boy playfully mocks Hargan's elite pride while tightly clutching the money bag. The two end this perilous mission with some lighthearted banter. Meanwhile, the Olympus commander angrily slams his fist. With the Jackal's vault completely emptied and their leader unreachable, he's furious and refuses to believe someone pulled off this massive heist. Just then, his scouts report back. What they find is an absolute bloodbath and nightmarish scene, filled with corpses and rotting remains that leaves everyone horrified. Realizing the Jackals are wiped out and the fortune is gone, the commander loses his mind, letting out an agonizing roar of sheer despair. Cutting back to our boy, he is comfortably counting his massive spoils. It's enough wealth to make any ranker jealous, but he decides to keep it hidden to avoid alerting Olympus. With plenty of funds, he immediately opens the system to purchase frame materials for the Dark Divine Crystal, preparing to hand them over to a top-tier blacksmith. Next, he pulls out a mysterious, glowing purple-green egg. The system has no idea what creature it belongs to, and its current hatching rate is sitting at 0. This could very well be an outer god's egg. As he inspects it, his eyes suddenly widen. Mysterious new patterns have appeared on the shell that definitely weren't there before. Our boy examines a mysterious, glowing egg in his hands. It seems to have a mind of its own, even greeting him. He's been pondering over this outer god's egg for days. No one knows if it'll hatch into a powerful ally or a world-devouring monster. But on second thought, most mythical creatures treat the first person they see as their mother. Raised right, this could become an unstoppable trump card. Deciding to let nature take its course, our guy puts the egg away. He needs to focus on upgrading his gear right now. The scene shifts as he visits the retired blacksmith Hephaestus. The old man is already eager, constantly asking what kind of weapon our boy wants to forge. Without a word, our guy takes out a small vial filled with glowing blue dust. It's crystal powder, an incredibly rare and top-tier crafting material. Seeing such priceless treasure, the blacksmith excitedly smashes a wooden stump. To match the top-tier dust, he immediately brings out a chunk of precious mithril. Though the materials are perfect, our boy mentally calculates the cost. Such a large piece of mithril would cost a fortune, way beyond his current budget. Surprisingly, the blacksmith boldly offers him credit. As a master craftsman, getting to work with priceless materials is a dream come true. Now, we just wait for the masterpiece. Seeing the precious materials our boy brought, the blacksmith's eyes instantly light up. Our guy knows right away that this is the master craftsman he remembers. Drawing his current sword as a reference, our boy says weight doesn't matter, just match the length and shape. Hearing this, the blacksmith completely absorbs himself in the task. A week flies by. Upon hearing about the Jackal's annihilation, Olympus doesn't back down. Instead, their higher-ups see this as the perfect chance to prove themselves. Completely blinded by vengeance, they go all out, assembling over 200 elite players from the first 10 floors. Pushing the tower's limits, they even bring in powerful system reinforcements. With a single command, this massive army marches out, vowing to erase our boy completely. The elite forces of Olympus charge forward like a raging storm, bringing a suffocating aura as they head straight for their target. Meanwhile, our boy is busy hunting giant monsters in the wild. For the past 10 days, he's been grinding away, patiently waiting for his new weapon to be born. Inside the forge, the god of fire has just messaged our boy. He's completely mesmerized by the perfect masterpiece he just created. Suddenly, A massive attack blasts right through the roof. The old blacksmith is sent flying, but he quickly grabs his hammer, burning with absolute fury. The Olympus army swarms in, completely surrounding the shop. The arrogant commander looks down from his horse, thinking sheer numbers will easily capture this criminal. Facing an entire army, the fire god doesn't flinch. While the grunts are terrified, the commander smugly points out that a ranker's stats are heavily restricted on the first floor. Restricted or not, he's still a powerhouse. Hephaestus easily blasts the vanguard away. But just as he prepares to clear the room, a red-haired Olympus ranker joins the fray. Chryses of Olympus makes his move. Even though rankers face heavy system penalties for fighting on the first floor, he is clearly willing to break the rules to take down the fire god. Their clash triggers a cataclysmic explosion, with a massive energy beam tearing through the city. Despite Hephaestus's best efforts, the floor's restrictions make this fight an uphill battle. Amidst the chaos, Chryses shows a rare moment of respect. He admits that he's always admired Hephaestus for staying true to his craft, while everyone else was busy chasing power. Respect won't stop the carnage. Facing Hephaestus's desperate, thunderous counterattack, Chryses maintains his cold dominance, every collision echoing with bone-shaking force. The gap in power is simply too wide. Hephaestus leaves an opening and is violently sent flying, crashing into the rubble as the battle swings decisively in favor of Olympus. Chryses closes in. Though he claims he doesn't want to fight, his resolve to finish the job is unwavering as he charges up a lethal strike to end the legendary blacksmith. With a final flash of lightning, Hephaestus collapses, utterly exhausted. The legendary god now lies broken in a pool of blood, marking a grim end to this one-sided massacre. Frustrated by the rock-solid replica Aegis, the enemies launched a relentless assault. Massive explosions and magical strikes battered the crystal, trying to shatter the injured man's final defense. Though just a replica, the Aegis manifested a giant stone hand to block every lethal blow. However, the bloodthirsty high-level players refused to give up, determined to drag him out of his shell. Just as the defense was about to crumble, and the injured man screamed in agony, a sharp blade aura repelled the enemy's charge. With a confident smirk, our boy finally arrived to protect him. Seeing this unexpected arrival, the arrogant army immediately started whispering. They quickly recognized the young man in black as Kim Yuan, the monster rookie who had been shattering every tutorial record. Despite the enemies yelling at him, our boy didn't even flinch. Facing these Olympus scumbags who broke the rules just to hunt him down, he gripped his glowing sword tight. A one-sided massacre is about to begin. Our boy calmly stands his ground, protecting the petrified guy behind him. Just a single icy glare is enough to make the arrogant enemy commander sweat in pure fear. Knowing the shield's petrification lasts for a whole day, the villains realize they must eliminate all threats right now. They decide to stop wasting time and finish the job. Seeing his men hesitating out of fear, the furious commander completely loses his cool. He desperately tries to motivate the grunts with the absurd reward of becoming the floor administrator. Greed instantly overrides common sense as the foolish mob charges forward. Our boy remains unfazed, gripping his magic dagger as immense fiery mana fiercely gathers along the blade. In a split second, a fierce storm of flames erupts. The explosive inferno sweeps across the battlefield, instantly blowing away the advancing grunts before they can even react. The desperate enemies immediately switch to a ranged bombardment. Facing the incoming fire, our guy activates his fiery golden eyes, perfectly analyzing and predicting every single attack path. Just as the battle heats up, a blinding blue thunderbolt violently strikes from the sky. His loyal buddy Hargan makes an epic entrance, meaning the real payback time is just beginning. Facing the hostile crowd, our boy doesn't flinch. Even experienced players are sweating under his overwhelming aura, relying on numbers just to build up fake courage. Seeing them foolishly charge in, our boy activates his skill. A terrifying pillar of fire erupts, instantly showing these grunts the massive gap in their strength. After clearing the mobs, he turns to the petrified black-haired guy, trying to wake him up. However, the real trouble has just arrived. Before he can wake him, a terrifying heat wave and sudden explosion sweep across the battlefield. Along with the intense shockwave, the hidden enemy finally reveals himself. Chryses, an Olympus ranker, steps out of the flames to demand answers. Hearing that our guy is just a simple client, the enraged ranker pulls out an extremely dangerous artifact. Not backing down against the suffocating pressure of a ranker, our boy immediately activates his gigantification skill. He's ready to risk it all to withstand the artifact's devastating blow. Chryses looks on with disdain, believing a rookie could never survive. But he never expected that abusing his overwhelming power would directly trigger the tower's absolute penalty. Just as the artifact unleashes its terrifying heat, punishing lightning strikes down from above. The two destructive forces collide instantly, turning the battlefield into an infernal hellscape. Taking the massive explosion head-on, our boy suffers severe burns, but miraculously survives thanks to his insane resistance. He holds his ground, but the true battle is only just beginning. The terrifying heat of the sun fragment triggers a devastating explosion. Even with fire-resistant gear, our boy feels like he's being boiled alive by the extreme temperature. Despite the agony, our boy grits his teeth and holds on. He knows abusing such power on the first floor triggers a heavy penalty, and the tower's rules are already tearing the villain apart. Just as he's about to pass out from the pain, a furious lightning bolt strikes from the sky. The tower's devastating penalty brutally hits the villain, making him cough up blood instantly. The heavily injured villain collapses, allowing Yuan to barely survive the crisis. Kneeling in the ruins, he catches his breath, realizing he might have underestimated the true power of high rankers. Just as he tries to figure out his next move, a mysterious blue portal suddenly appears in the ruins. It seems this fierce survival battle is far from over. Tower guards finally arrive at the devastated ruins. Seeing Chrissy's half dead from the tower's penalty lightning, the guard captain draws his sword, ready to make the arrest. Knowing better than to mess with our boy, the captain wisely orders his men to leave him alone and focus solely on arresting the rogue high ranker. Just when they thought the dust had settled, a dying Chryses goes berserk. Erupting with unstable dark mana, he lunges viciously at the frontline guards. Seeing the bloodied, completely unhinged monster before him, the captain realizes capture is impossible. The guards are forced to change their tactics to a lethal takedown. But the nightmare isn't over. With a violent tremor, a hand shatters the stone ground. The captain freezes in sheer panic, realizing the black-haired guy's petrification is breaking. Panic spreads as the guards roar and launch a desperate attack. But a blinding flash of energy erupts, and a devastating glowing punch is already swinging down. Facing the incoming grunts, our boy doesn't hold back. He unleashes a massive energy blast, instantly sending the Olympus mob flying in all directions. Seeing our boy's monstrous display, the Olympus high ranker Chryses finally takes things seriously. Meanwhile, our guy stabilizes his stance, locking onto his true target with a glowing blade. The ranker vows to finish this right here, but our boy doesn't waste time talking. He dashes forward like a blur, twin blades drawn, charging straight at Chryses. As their mana clashes violently, Chryses is utterly shocked. He realizes our boy can perfectly control dual attribute mana, an incredibly rare talent that instantly sparks his greed. Hoping to recruit this genius, Chryses offers top-tier gear as a reward. But without blinking an eye, our guy delivers a devastating punch, rejecting the offer in the clearest way possible. The failed recruitment leads to another fierce brawl. Chryses smirks bitterly as he gets pushed back, finding it absurd that a mere rookie is giving a high ranker this much trouble. If he can't have him, he'll destroy him. Enraged, Chryses completely ignores the first floor restrictions, drawing out a terrifying amount of power, ready to risk his own life to end this. Facing this deadly, rule-breaking strike, our boy doesn't back down. He channels all his mana into a desperate counterattack, sparking a massive, earth-shattering explosion that engulfs the battlefield. To completely wipe out his target, the Olympus high ranker ignores the first floor's restrictions and unleashes a devastating attack. But our boy doesn't back down, countering with everything he's got. Even the high ranker has to smirk and acknowledge our boy's insane strength. Moments later, their terrifying energies collide, triggering a massive, battlefield-clearing explosion. Looking at the absolute devastation, Hargan is left sweating in shock. Using this level of power in the tutorial zone is unheard of, and he assumes this brutal fight is finally over. However, abusing such power comes with a heavy price. The tower's automatic penalty system suddenly manifests as a terrifying skull entity, and even our boy can sense the overwhelming aura of danger. Right at the climax of the chaos, a white-haired, long-bearded elder descends like a ghost. Crashing down with absolute authority, he declares that this farce is far from over. Stunned by this sudden arrival, Hargan asks if he isn't afraid of the system's penalty. But the mysterious elder just gives an incredibly arrogant reply he doesn't care about the rules at all. Meanwhile, the merciless penalty system locks onto the rule-breaking ranker. Erupting with furious blue lightning, the skull entity delivers a brutal execution while the enemy screams for help. Just as things are about to spiral out of control, the white-haired elder steps in with overwhelming force. Seeing him effortlessly manipulate the battlefield, our boy finally realizes his true identity, the administrator,